All right, Mark, what we got going on out here this morning?
We're going to show these guys how to do something, you know, the new way. You know, we know these guys they don't like a lot of change, right? So we're going to show them how to cook on a PR42 the new way.
All right.
Hot and fast.
Hot and fast.
You know, instead of starting it last night, you know, it cooled down overnight. We're going to show them how to cook a brisket hot and quick. Get some brown on it really quick, move it off to the side, finish it off in 6 hours. So,
Heck yeah.
Going to show them a new brisket, new flavor, new way to use the same equipment. We're going to do a modified comp trim, and I'm not going to cut all of it off. I may leave a little extra on it, but we'll talk to you about what you would trim off. So, our flat portion and our point portion. We want to make sure that when this is cooked, that the finished slice has a beautiful bark all the way across it. So we want to take this large pieces of fat off the top of the flat side. These are our parts that we're going to get our trim from. And I use this as an indicator. Everyone's got a different size hand. Mine are kind of small. So I look here and I find out where this is kind of, it tapers off thin on this end, and it's a little thicker, I can tell, on this end. So I look and see where my thickest center portion is. That's about the width of the box. And whenever I get ready to slice it, it's going to shrink just enough to go inside. That's about the size of the middle of the box because the box has a taper. So I'm looking for that center mass portion where it's the thickest, figure out where I'm going to get my slices. And normally it would fit in this pan when I'm done. And that's all that I need. It's gonna be tight. And after it finishes, it's gonna shrink up and it's gonna be an inch inside this pan. But that's all you need. That way I know that from one end to the other, I've got a really similar texture and doneness from one end to the other. So with the grain, we're gonna go across here. A boning knife works. A little bit longer sometimes works better. Salmon knives work really good for this. A thin fillet knife works good just for shaving this fat. And we're not gonna take it down. We're not gonna worry about all the silver skin and everything. Normally we would take even all this silver skin off. And to take the silver skin, a lot of times what we'll do is we'll just slide the point of a really thin knife directly under it in this way, and then we'll just work our way to the edge. And then that way we create fewer crevices, peaks and valleys. And you see it created a small one right there. So we're not going to take all of that off for that reason. Just in respect to time is the main thing. As you can tell, we're going with the grain, and we're just trying to level it out. Not going to worry about all of it. Now, when we get to our edge, this thin edge is not going to cook as evenly as this other edge. Many competition guys are going to tell you they're going to separate the point and the flat. I don't really do that anymore. I like to, and with the hot and fast method, I like to have a little bit more on the back side of it to protect it. So what we get ready to do is trim some of this off to make it cook a little more evenly. And what I'm talking about there is we're going to take some of this decal off. Burnt ends are not as much of a thing as they used to be. Don't worry about your burnt ends. Very seldom do they get turned in. So you can tell what we're doing. We're just sort of filleting this down to make this brisket a little more even in thickness. Now, when this is done, you notice we've got a little hump here. We may take this an extra piece and lay it in here to figure it out. But we'll notice how this tapers off. This is part of our decal. I'm gonna take that off. You notice it's starting to take shape. I've got a point here, but it's decently thick on that point, but I don't have a full slice. So I'm gonna go to where I've got a full slice, which is about here. There's my point. That's about the point to where I'm gonna start to get a full slice. Thinner on this side, thicker on this side. Justify it across. This is the thin side. Starting to take shape. I'm still a little wide. I'm a little bit thick. Now, you guys have seen some of these caddies these guys are cooking in. If you've got a retail store, it's a great product. A caddy is just it's really just a U-shaped piece of perforated metal. It's usually stainless steel. And what that's designed to do is, if it's designed, when you cook a hot and fresh brisket, this brisket tightens up and tenses up, and it'll rise almost like a piece of bread. Now, you throw it on the hot and fast without this caddy, it's gonna rise. But is it gonna rise evenly? Maybe not. But inside this caddy, it's designed to fit within those parameters we talked about, and it's designed to help that brisket rise and puff up at a more even level so that you get a more continuous doneness texture slice from one end to the other. We may get 19 slices, 18 slices rather than 12, 15 slices. That's what it does. It gives you a little bit more wiggle room from one end to the other so that you can use slices all the way across the flat. So it's a great little product. Now, when I'm looking at this flat, as it comes down here, it's tapering into the point, right about at this spot right here. I would never be able to get a slice anything past here. It tapers off here as well. And what I'll probably do is, when I set it on the pit, we may take one of these slices and then just shore it up a little bit. And all that's gonna do is make it cook a little more evenly. So on these edges, I want them nice and square. I don't want a lot of crumbling when I slice it. If I was gonna completely trim this out, and I probably will go ahead and take some of this off because it's not gonna cook evenly. I'll go ahead and take the edge of this point off.
You're gonna make me cry.
Told you, told you. Now, I don't know about you guys, but barbecue's not my favorite food group anymore. So this pile to me is prettier than this pile.
That'd have been good in that pho we had last night.
Oh man, what you talking about? So we're just gonna get our big chunks off here. Now this is almost, guys, I'm gonna tell you, this is more of what you were gonna see, a Texas trim. And I'm gonna use this more often than not, even in KCBS or CBA now. You notice all we're doing is eyeballing this to make sure we get a nice slice across, and I've got a little more fat right here. We're gonna shave it down. A little bit of silver skin on top. Again, this more than likely, I'm not gonna get slices off of this end. There's a little fat creek right here, right in the center, a little divot, a little fat furrow, if you will. So most likely our slices are gonna come here, here. So start with the end in mind. Don't worry about trimming a lot of stuff that you're not gonna put in the box anyway. There. Now, got a mound of coals over here, and a mound of coals over here, and we're gonna start each brisket directly over the coals. When they get ready to wrap, we're gonna push all of the coals together, and we're gonna move the briskets down offset. Like I said, I've never cooked on this cooker in this method before. I've cooked this method many times, but this is a new way of cooking on this pit.
No, but there goes your drip pan now. You don't
I
need a
know.
drip pan.
I told you. The drip pan was all about, the pig roaster was all about that drip pan. He just took my secret weapon away.
So Mark,
Yep.
we need to.
What I want to showcase here, guys, is the method, not the seasoning. I promote my own brand and my own seasoning plenty. But I know here, this is about the process. This is about the trimming, the cooking. This is more technique than it is about what I put on it. Now, this is my first layer when I use it at home. I use this all the time. This is Boar's Not Out White Lightning. This is double garlic butter. Whether you use this one spicy or this is double garlic, this one's spicy or original. They're all great as a first layer on everything I do. That's the first layer. But it's a light first layer. So my brisket process may not involve the same exact seasoning, but it will involve a seasonal like that is a first layer. It'll involve something a little bit in between. This is like a seasoned salt. It's got a little bit of beef flavor in it as well. That'll be my second layer. It doesn't really matter what it is. Midwest Dust is great. There's a ton of base barbecue rubs out there that you can use for that. And then something that's got a little more black pepper in it for a finish. So it's usually a 3-layer process, but as you can tell, it's a real light layer. And you see, I'm just gonna press a little bit of it in so most of it doesn't fall off and I get a good even base on
They
it.
didn't massage this one, so he's doing it now.
That's
There
right.
you go.
So I have a question.
You might just want to put this event on your calendar again. But what he was saying, similar to what Mark's saying, if it's not perfect, then it's not going into the box. So any seen it, huh?
Yeah. Here's a little bit of sizzle. That's what we want. So again, we've got 2 direct fires. We've got a nice distance away from it, but you notice we're only about 2 briquettes deep. Most of them are lit, but not all of them. And we're going to drip into the coals. We're going to watch this. We're going to give it about 30 minutes. We're going to come back out, give it a flip, see what our doneness looks like. Once we get a good color on the other side, we're going to flip back over. We may offset it at that point, but we're going to wait until we start to see some bits of moisture puddle and we have some dry. We start to see that brisket swell up and rise up, and we're going to start to see some moisture start to expel from this brisket in different points. That's where it's really starting to really get its temperature up and it's starting to expel moisture, and it's kind of in that stall phase. When it's deep into the stall phase, we'll wrap it and finish it off really quickly. And stall is just evaporative cooling. When it tightens up, it starts pushing water out. As it pushes water out, it cools itself and it slows down the cook. So we're going to continue that cook process by wrapping it and taking evaporative cooling away from it. This is not a stick burner, so small pieces. But I'm going to try to keep them somewhat even.
Oh, now we got bad wood too.
No, that's good. This is not going to take much wood.
Yeah, how about that?
So 30 minutes in, got good smoke going, dried out nice, and then the bottom side got a nice color.
Beautiful. Big bite out of it right now.
Nice color.
Real steaky.
Real steaky. That's right. Where there's brown, there's flavor.
That's it.
So we're gonna set us another 30-minute timer and see what we got then. Yep, look. 150. So we're here at Meadow Creek Welding Supply, and we're having a seminar, and we're inside learning about how to sell these things, but we're cooking brisket on a PR42 today. So it's designed as a pig roaster. We started with charcoal. We started with 2 hot fires, and we're trying to simulate cooking hot and fast on a drum on this thing. So we put the briskets on directly over the fire, 30 minutes on each side, got a nice brown with some cherry wood, got a good color on it. Didn't have any beef broth. We're kind of adjusting on the fly. We put them in a full steam pan, added some water, covered it with foil, and put the probe in it. So we put it on about 2 hours and 40 minutes ago, give or take. What
What are we talking about there?
This is going to be like a 3-hour brisket. That's Wagyu, and there's a lot of fat. I hope that has something to do with it, because even I'm getting a little concerned here. Hope this turns out. Okay, so this has been on 3 hours and 25 minutes. We're going to see if it's probe tender or not. It hit 211 degrees in record time. So we're going to see what we're dealing with. And let's get our thermopin and see.
God, it smells so good when you hit that open.
It's actually a little tight.
Yep, I can tell the way it went in.
See how it's moving around?
Yep, and that's the second one that didn't have
That's the
the
second
probe in, right? So
it's hitting right at
it's
211.
close, yeah.
But it's close.
Right
how it's
there. Yep.
moving
Still
around?
got a little give to it.
Yep.
So we're calling it 4 hours and 25 minutes. What do you think?
425 to butter.
Just butter.
Straight up butter on the PR42.
That's it, right
Look at
there.
that separation.
if you could just smell it.
Woo, it smells good.
All right, let's see the bend test.
Yeah.
She flop. She ain't breaking apart. How's she pull?
That's
How's she pull? Oh yeah.
perfection.